Welcome to Everyday Ethics, everybody. As you can see, I am rocking the cat ear headphones purchased by one Daniel Suska in compliance with the agreement we had as relates to super chats and super stickers. And please remember that I absolutely love the super chats and super stickers. Thank you so much for being here today to celebrate this 50th episode of the program. I am joined, as always, by the lovely Persephone.
Hello.
Yes, that was your cue to say hello, Persephone.
That and I did say hello.
Well, it was.
Hello, Katie. Hello, Danny. Hello, Amy. And now I can hear myself.
I don't think so. I don't know why they aren't lit up, bro. These aren't the best headphones you could have purchased. Let's just put it that way. I'm.
Just saying. So, in celebration of hello, Danny. In celebration of the 50th episode, because I know that you wanted genuine ethical dilemmas that people were having, I went in search of people on Reddit who were asking genuine questions that they were struggling with, moral dilemmas that they were struggling with. So I went and found a couple, and these are real people and real situations. Hello, Olive. And I think some of these might annoy you, but I just want you to remember that real people and real situations.
It's nice to have Olive and Amy back on the program. Thank you so much, the two of you, for showing up.
I agree. Hello, welcome back.
Well, okay. All right, let's get to the questions. We're on the
Okay.
50th episode here. We can't just blow it.
I mean,
Can I just tell you, we had a thing on the before we came on, technical difficulties with the headphones, and they weren't working. But I turned them all the way up, and now they're working, and just whoosh.
I don't know what whoosh means.
It means
Loud?
they're very loud. Yes.
Oh, that's good. Um, okay. I'm gonna ask you some questions now.
All right, fire away, lady.
So this person asked, you cheated on your partner and you know that you're not gonna do it again. You know for 100% certain you're not gonna cheat on them again. You've the person that you did cheat on them with, you've cut them out of your life. Do you tell your partner that you cheated?
Hmm.
If you know for 100% certain, you are like, I've made this mistake once, I will never ever make it again. Do you tell them?
Oh God, that's a tough one. These are very tough questions. First of all, to know you'll never ever do it again once you've done it, there's got to be more in the equation than what I know. But the question basically is, do you spare your partner's feelings? That's one way to look at it, right? That you don't want to hurt the person by telling them what you've done. But there's also the I want to not lose my girlfriend or wife component. And then there's the I'm just a coward component. And each person would have to weigh those things in their own mind to see what's truly driving that behavior. So, if it's just a matter of you don't want to lose your partner, I say fuck you. You should have thought about that before you stuck your dick in somebody else. If it's that you're just a coward, get over it. Buck up. You weren't scared when you were out doing what you were doing. Um, but then you've got the person's feelings that you care about. And what do you do there? And that's a tough one. And only you can really know how much that's your pure motivation. I would say, you know what? I think you tell her. And I'll tell you why. I do not think that the relationship could last with one person having that information, especially not a morally reformed person. That would, if that were in my head, that would eat me to death. It would affect my behavior. It would affect other things that I do. The relationship just could not be authentic. So I am going to say, yes, you need to have this conversation.
I agree with you, but also because I think that there there is always the chance that they're going to find out anyway, and then if you didn't tell them, then
Yes.
it's so much worse.
Yes, the truth has a way of coming out.
Yeah. Well, that was the first one. Here's the second one. Oh, if you don't tell them it's a lack of trust, if you cannot be honest with them. I mean, yeah, you want to be able to be honest with your partner. But that is something that happens to a lot of people. They make a mistake and then they think, well, I'm not going to do it again and it's just going to hurt them. And so I mean, I know that that's something that some people struggle with. So
Okay.
here's the other question. This one I thought was really interesting. So this person has a friend and they are really struggling to take care of their child. They are really struggling, but they are trying and they have the child's best interests at heart, but they are failing at taking care of the child. Does she report does she report this mother to Child Protective Services knowing that the child is going to be taken away?
No. Do you want me to tell you
Even
why? I'll answer why.
I yes, I want to know why.
Well, the problem is there's an assumption that it built into the question that the Department of Child Services is going to do a better job.
Oh no, part of this question
Yeah,
was
well, that's why you
if
don't.
yeah, because because if they're lucky, they end up in foster care, but more likely they end up in a group home, which is probably worse than what the parent is doing. Do you stay silent and hope that they can get their shit together, or do you report them?
I would not report them because now I'm assuming that this kid isn't starving to death, isn't being abused. Because if it's that serious of a situation, then yes. If it's a situation where the parent loves the child, is doing the best, but is unable to give the child the best life that they would like to give them, you know what I mean? I'm not if there's abuse, sexual, physical abuse going on, extreme neglect going on, then I would say yes because you've got to get the child out of that situation. But if it's a loving home where the mother is doing the best that she can, or I don't know if you said it was a woman, or the father's doing the best that he can, then I might seek out other possibilities. Talk to other family and friends. Maybe some of us can help out. What can we do? Because turning it over to Child Protective Services is not a guaranteed win.
Yeah. So in this situation, the child's not being abused, but they are being neglected.
How
So
badly?
not
How bad is the neglect?
not being bathed, not eating every day. So the quite
Oh, see,
the neglect is fairly severe, but the mother is trying her best. This is what makes it tricky
it
because
is, but it's going to depend. So, does this mother have other friends? Are there other resources? Are there people that would be willing to help out in the situation? That may not be able to, they may not be ideal circumstances, but if we helped out, the kid would get bathed every day. And how old is the kid?
6.
So 6-year-olds don't need to be bathed every day, right?
No.
So every other day would suffice. They do need to eat every day, of course. So can we help out? Can we what can we do? And if there's a situation where other people can contribute and help out to make sure the kids bathe every other day, is clothed, is fed, then I would say do not turn them in. Ian Gilmore says, "How do you try your best and not feed your kid every day? Are they too poor to afford food?" And that's what I'm thinking. Yes, they are.
Yeah, I don't have all of the details, so I went to Reddit to find these questions, so the information is not complete. But I think that this person was working two jobs and just generally struggling.
I mean, the thing is, there are life circumstances that can happen to a person that the person wasn't prepared for, didn't expect, didn't know was going to happen, that leave a person really screwed up. Right, and that's part of the thing too. How temporary is this? Like, would we be able to, for instance, okay, look, we're going to help you out for say 3 months, and then you've got to get the job, you've got to, get things taken care of. What can we do? How much sacrifice is it going to take? But my first inclination would not be to call what we call Department of Children and Families here in Connecticut.
Yeah. But I mean, that's an interesting one because I feel like for a lot of people, the gut reaction is going to be, oh well, she's not caring for the child, call child protective services or whatever they're called. But I think in a lot of cases, that's not the right move.
I agree. Like I said, it depends on factors that, like you said, we don't know. But
Mm,
assuming this woman has friends that actually care about her, maybe some family, and assuming she's willing to do what it takes to give her child the best life, then I would rather, us as friends help out, as was done for me, by the way. So I didn't have kids, but I moved out of Subby's house. I want to say in October of 2024, to go live with Melissa. And I've probably told this before, but I can tell it again. Melissa needed to get a job in order to pay rent where she was staying. She could not work because she had a 4-year-old autistic child to take care of. So she and I made an agreement where I would move in and I would take care of him and she would go to work. The reason I wasn't going to go to work is because I was building my podcast. So it worked out for both of us. I was able to stay home and do the podcast, take care of her son, and she was able to go to work. And then, unbeknownst to, we didn't foresee this, her landlord, who was also her best friend, decided that she was going to sell the house. So now we had to move. So I went and I found us. I asked my friend Brent, who was in prison, and he knew somebody that would rent us an apartment. It was pretty far away. It was in Connecticut, but far away, an hour drive from where I am now. So we decided to go there, and a good friend co-signed for us to go there. Same deal. Melissa was going to work. I would do the podcast, and then I would get, a weekend job. So when she was home, I could work, and she could be, or Vinny would go with his dad on the weekends, and I would get a weekend job. Uh, you know, Neither one of us ever anticipated that she would end up with cancer. Like that came out of nowhere, and now we're in a situation where she's not working. I have to take care of both her and Vinny, so I can't go to work. And luckily, I had friends that were willing to help out. Jim Valiant organized a GoFundMe. Subby bought us groceries. Melissa's friend brought over, food and stuff for us. And then when I could, ultimately I couldn't afford the rent, so I had to move back here. Subby let me move back in. None of that was through a fault of our own. Those were unforeseen circumstances. We planned well. Life had other plans,
mm,
right? So I'm very sensitive to the fact that misfortune can come upon people that's of no fault of their own. And that's what this sounds like in this scenario is occurring. So I would, my friends were there for me. If that were my friend, I would be there for him or her. But that can't last forever either. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Ultimately, I would help, organize others to help, and help her to get on her feet so she could take care of him. Because the whole question was predicated on this woman loving her child and doing the best she could.
Yeah. I mean, that's facts. Life does happen, and just because the child is sort of somewhat being neglected doesn't mean she doesn't give a shit or that she's a bad person.
Right.
Which I think some people do have the tendency to just look at a situation in black and white and go, okay, well, the child's being neglected, therefore she is a shit person.
Yeah, and that in the way that I view life in general, and I've done this, and I will do it again. If I have a friend that's willing to work on themselves, I'll go through hell to help that friend if that person's willing to put in the work, right? And so this, I'm thinking this woman is willing to put in the work. And so to me, that's where it's black and white. She's either willing to work or she's not. If she's not, well, then we've got a different problem on our hands. If she is, then I'm there.
Mm, I agree. And now we're gonna go to something not.
Quick comment. Danny says he needs lights or today doesn't count, and you should have brought the headphones where the lights went on automatically. I think the lights on these might only work when you're doing Bluetooth. I think they might signify Bluetooth, but I'm not certain. Because when I had the Bluetooth on earlier, they went on.
Ah, yeah, I've got the fancy ones that change colors.
Yes.
So here's a much stupider question, but also something that someone is struggling with. So he says, I have been
Oh,
in
look at
business.
this. I think we should ask this. It's
Yeah,
a
we should.
$10 super chat, and thank you so much for not another guitar channel. My demented mother requires day-to-day help. She's partly responsible for the situation, but it's too late for her to help herself. I don't want to sacrifice my own time, but also it is a disaster. Um, so this is where I think you're going to see my gangster side come out. And by gangster, I don't mean criminal. I just mean harsh reality. The harsh reality is I do not hold, and I don't think it's logical to assume that we are responsible for our parents. I think the reverse is true, that they are responsible for us because they brought us here. They put us into this world, right? So especially if your mother is the one that put herself in this situation or is partly responsible for it, I don't think, given the information that I have, I do not think that you are ethically obligated to help out or do things. Now, there's other circumstances that I don't know. Maybe your mother helped you out when you were in a really bad time. Maybe you have brothers and sisters that are there for you and that are good, they're good friends to you and they need your help. Maybe you're financially on the hook for some of this stuff. But as a simple baseline, given that information, I would say you are not ethically obligated to contribute. Persephone, you are of course free to answer as well.
Yeah, I have a follow-up to that. So not another guitar channel. I'm not saying that you would feel guilty if you chose not to help your mother. I agree that you're not ethically obligated to help, especially if she's responsible for, putting herself in that situation. If this was me, right? I and I was in this exact same situation. I would know that I am not ethically obligated. I know that I'm not morally obligated. I also know that I would feel a lot of guilt. Not irrational guilt, but I know that I would. Um, Say that not another guitar channel would also have that same issue, that he would also feel guilt. Do you have any advice, anything to say about that?
Yes, a person needs to learn to not take on unearned guilt. That we've talked about it before. That it has to be done through maybe journaling, self-talk. The messages is that you're sending yourself, having an actual rational code of ethics to judge yourself by, and meticulously and diligently using that as your guide to dissipate that guilt. You don't want to cave to unearned guilt.
No, you don't. But it is also a very challenging emotion to get over. It's not as much guilt as I hate seeing the train wreck. Um,
Yeah, the problem is that we don't know what the train wreck is. I mean, I can imagine, but I don't like to make decisions based on my own imaginings. So you have to weigh that the effect that this train wreck legitimately has on your life outside of basic, just that it bothers you to see it. If the bothering you is based on objective facts, okay, well then that alters the equation. I just wanted to make it clear that in my view, you are not ethically responsible to help a parent. just because they're your parent. There might be other circumstances involved. I'm saying the blood relationship alone does not put a duty on you to help.
Not another guitar channel. Can I ask a follow-up question? You don't have to answer. So you said it's not so much guilt as you hate seeing the train wreck. If you don't want to help and you don't want to see the train wreck, why do you, it's going to sound really horrible. Why do you not just cut your mother out of your life? Falling over in her house and ending up in hospital every week, blowing through all her life savings through mismanagement.
Yeah, that's the train wreck. But what I don't understand is outside of a sense of duty, why does this stuff create an obligation? Like, why do you see this as your obligation to help or to do something? And furthermore, it sounds like you're already helping and this stuff is happening anyway. Then maybe your mother needs to be in a care center if she can afford it. I don't know. But all I can really say is that there is no filial. That's what it is when it's your parent, right? Yeah,
Filial?
filial, yeah. Or is that for brother and sister? Whatever. There's no duty to help somebody just because they're your parent, especially not at sacrifice to yourself.
Filial is son or daughter.
Okay.
I don't know what it is for a parent. At this point, she's not worth spending time with, but she, okay.
Okay. See, so this is a different thing. Yes. Then, given what you've just told me, um, I, I would, if it were me, I would help. But I would not ruin my life over it. Like I'm not going to ruin my marriage if I had a wife, my relationship with my own children. I'm not going to do. So try to arrange help, like Christopher Smith says, but I would not do it to my own detriment.
Yeah. Um,
Thank you so much for the question and for the super chat. Not another guitar channel. Really appreciate it.
so, just talking about his mother helped him out, and now he doesn't want to help her. Can I tell you a somewhat related story?
Of course.
So, I had helped my sister, who I have a very good relationship with. I had helped my sister with a lot of things in in the past, like help look after her son when she was getting a divorce, and I'd always gone out of my way to be a good sister and do what she needed me to do, even if I it sort of put me not at a disadvantage, but even if it was out of my way, I always went out of my way to help my sister. The one time that I needed help from her, I needed her to uh, co-sign on an apartment for me because my father had just died and we had all been living together, and I had to move out and I just quit my job, and it was a whole story. And this was the one thing that I asked my sister to do for me, was to co-sign, and I had the money to pay the rent. I wasn't asking her for money. I was just asking her to co-sign for me, and she did not want to do it. And I have never been so pissed off in my entire life. And I knew that she wasn't obligated to help me. I knew that. And I was still so angry that she like made the decision knowing how often I'd gone out of my way for her. I was so angry at her that she did eventually, after a lot of coaxing, she did agree to to co-sign for me, but I was so angry and it put such a strain on our relationship for like 2 years because I was so mad at her, even though I knew logically that there was no obligation.
Well, I don't know that there's no obligation there. And what I mean by that is this: human friendships and human relationships ought to be trade, right? I give you something, you give me something, and I don't mean necessarily material things, but in terms of friendship, love, quality time, whatever. So assuming that you're a good friend to your sister up until this point, and assuming you're responsible, then I would say she ought to do it. Now, even if you have been good to your sister, if you're a spendthrift, if you're someone that doesn't pay your bills, whatever, then no, she has no obligation. But I certainly think I don't like the word obligation. If she is to remain your intimate, your close friend, then she ought to do it. And you would certainly be within your rights to end or to limit the friendship, the relationship over her actions in that situation.
See, that's contrary to what everybody else told me. They were like, she's under no obligation to help you. Wah, wah, wah. So what I heard from everybody. Obviously, my mother was like, you know, she doesn't have to help you.
That's true, but you don't have to be her friend. That's kind
No,
of my point. You are free to say in that situation, and this is where I think that they would differ, and they would say then you, oh, but she's your sister. Okay, because she's blood, it means nothing extra, right? If you're my friend and I do for you, and then you don't reciprocate, I am perfectly within my rights to end that friendship, and you would be certainly within your rights to do the same. It doesn't mean she's obligated to help, but
but
neither are you obligated to stay in the relationship.
yeah, that's a good way to look at it, actually.
I have a lot of good ways to look at things. That's why I
You
have this
do.
show. Maybe the cat ears don't, you know.
I'm not gonna lie, the cat ears do sort of undercut the authority just a little bit.
I was a bit concerned about that, but I think we have to explain to the audience why I'm wearing them, that it's not my own particular fashion sense. Oh, look at this. 5.99 euros from Stars for Amy. So apparently, I can only buy super chats and not super stickers. But whatever, here we are. I honestly don't know what to say. Just eating and listening. Well, thank you for the super chat, even if it's meant to be a super sticker. Really, really appreciate it. Stars for Amy. Catman. Guitar Channel says, my mom helped me in my early 30s beyond what was morally expected of a parent. Okay, see, there's more information coming through. Then yes, perhaps you should help. But again, not to your own detriment and to, if you're going to be blowing up your own life.
Yeah. I mean, this is what I would like to know because there was something that you said that sort of stuck out at me. You said at this point she's not worth spending time with. Um, my grandmother has very severe dementia. She's got frontal lobe dementia, so she knows who we are, but she has lost a lot of other skills. She can't really hold a conversation. She can't really walk. Um, by all rights, my grandmother is not worth spending time with, but I will still help her because not because she's my grandmother, but because she was amazing to me as a child and into my early adulthood. Um, so I'm curious if that like you say she's not worth spending time with, but she did help you beyond what was morally expected. Is it just because you don't want to see, you just don't want to deal with the train wreck of her falling? Sorry, that was random follow up.
Do you have any
Michael's
questions for me?
Michael's not paying attention to me. He's on
I
his
am
phone.
paying.
It's
No,
very rude.
no, I am paying attention to you. You wanted to ask Guitar Channel, but why it's not worth spending time with her. And what I'm saying is, we got to give him some time to answer. So ask me a question. Oh, here it is. Good, you filled the void with some conversation. It's emotionally draining. I came round and fix her house. I come round and fix her house. She nags me the whole time, but it's because she doesn't understand. I'm helping her so much. Try to develop some patience. I would say in those situations, understand what she's going through. She's not doing it to you on purpose. She's not being malicious. She's got an illness that she's dealing with, that she's suffering from. But again, I understand that it can be emotionally draining. You need to refill that emotional tank and don't allow yourself to be utterly destroyed. In that case, not only will you be no good to yourself, but you'll be no good to her either.
Yeah, I mean, you should also look up caregiver burnout, um, and sort of take in practice some of the tips they talk about in some of the articles where they talk about caregiver burnout. Um, Okay, here's a very silly question. So this guy says, I've been in business for 25 years. A business nearby has been open longer. They have never had signage. I'm interrupted approximately twice per day, often more than that, by people looking for this other business. For 25 years, I have been giving directions to this other business. Recently, I have been pleading ignorance. I feel bad about this. What do I do?
Well, the first thing he should have done is went to the other business and said, I need you to put up a sign because I can't be dealing with this. And if I keep dealing with this, I'm going to tell people that I'm not providing that service because that store needs to provide their own sign. But you got to be careful too because you might discourage people then from shopping in your own place. And in that case, the guy has to weigh, is it worth him to be giving these directions in order to cultivate maybe customers for his own shop? Because but if there are people that aren't going to go to your shop anyway, then I would tell him, listen, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that any longer. That's up to him. But at the same time, I mean, it's really not much effort. I mean, let's be honest. You're just saying, hey, it's over there.
Yeah, so he was debating putting up signage himself to this other business.
Could do that too.
And I was
It's
like, that seems like the perfect solution.
could
As
be
long as it's not like super expensive. If it's
right.
just like a little sign, just stick it up on the wall. Easy peasy. Okay, here's a slightly more difficult one. My cousin
Yours?
has no, not my no, this I'm reading from a Reddit post.
All right.
Okay. So she says, my cousin has not safe for work AI content of my wife. My cousin and my wife are extremely close, almost best friends. And so basically what happened is that he was helping fix his cousin's laptop and he was going through her personal files, which he shouldn't have been doing. And he found AI porn of his wife.
Well, they're all
Um,
scumbags, so that's my answer. I mean, I don't know.
so
Like, you're an unethical person, so screw you and screw these people who have your wife like that. And your wife, if I had to guess, is probably not the most ethical person either.
My wife and my cousin are extremely close, almost best friends, and I'm terrified of what this could do to their relationship. I also haven't confronted my cousin because I wasn't supposed to be looking through her files, and I don't want to be seen as a creep.
Well,
I don't think the wife has done anything wrong in this situation.
if the wife is married to one scumbag and has a close relationship with another scumbag, there's a pretty good chance that she's not the most ethically up and up person. Not guaranteed. I'm just saying, based on my knowledge of human beings and the fact that birds of a feather tend to flock together.
Well, remember the cousin and the scumbag who are going through the personal files, those two are related. It's the
Yes,
husband's cousin.
yes. Do you think that this is the first inclination that these people were unethical? That these are upstanding people in every other sense, except for one happens to have AI porn of his cousin's wife and the other one searching through files being nosy? I mean, I doubt it. Human beings generally don't operate that way.
Okay, putting aside the fact that they're all scumbags, what would
Yeah,
you do in what would you
I,
do in that
I would not be.
situation?
I would not be in that situation. I mean, it's that simple. Like there's some things. I mean, you could come to me, for instance, and say, "Okay, you've committed a murder. Okay, I'm not going to commit a murder." So this is a situation that is so ethically fucked that unless this person, as a result of this, let's say as a result of this person has an epiphany and says, from now on, I want to be an ethical person. Then the thing to do is to admit what you've done, confront the cousin, tell your wife,
Okay.
right?
So
But outside of that, it's just all screwy. Like it's all unethical. So there's not an ethical solution unless you're going to actually decide to be an ethical human being.
so from what I understand of this, the cousin has never given any indication that they were. I mean, making AI porn is kind of fucked up, but they've never given any indication that they're a shitty person, and
I don't, Persephone. I'm sorry, I don't buy that.
you
It,
don't buy that.
no, I know I do not. In general, thank you, Robert, very much for the $2 super chat. He says tough topics today. Have you ever heard the saying that people will, when people show you who they are, believe them?
Yes.
There's another way to put that I would say that people generally show you who they are. I've not been, I've known of people that I've met, for instance, in various groups in prison, self help groups, rehabilitation groups, that put on a hell of a show during that group. And then when you, and I was like, and sometimes I'd be like, damn, I can't believe this person wound up in prison. When able to spend time with them, if they actually moved to the block I was living in, then I see it. Unethical people generally do not hide who they are. I find it very unlikely. I'm not saying it's impossible. Generally speaking, people do not contain their immorality to one issue that nobody sees. Of course, it can happen, and everybody says, "Oh my God, I never expected, or we never suspected this." I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It's just very rare. In the idea that you have these two cousins, one of whom is a snoop, the other one who is a creep, in that nobody they're not doing anything else wrong that anybody can see, I find highly unlikely.
Okay, wait. So here's more information. So I copied and pasted, but I missed something. So making AI porn. They're a scumbag. We know this. So the husband says, I discovered them accidentally. A OneDrive memories popped up, and out of curiosity, because it was my wife, so like a pop-up appeared that had like their memories, and it was a picture of his wife. So he opened it, and in that folder, so it wasn't like he was actually snooping.
Well, is there any indication prior to looking in that this might be some disturbing information about his wife, or disturbing info about his wife? If not, then you don't. I mean, like if I see a photo album and it's got my wife's picture, I don't then have a right to just go in somebody's photo album,
And
or
Snoop.
yeah. I mean,
Do you think it would change if the image that had popped up, because he doesn't actually say it was if it was so say he was fixing the laptop and the image that popped up was AI generated porn of his wife. Does that change the equation?
no, because he doesn't know that ahead of time, unless he has reason to suspect
No, I'm
that this
saying
guy's
if the
doing
if
that.
the if the image that popped up was like a photo of like his.
Oh. Well, then what you do, yeah, that does change the situation, and I'd confront them immediately. I wouldn't even have to open it. You know what I mean? I like, what the fuck, dude? I would probably take it. I'd probably open it because you now know. But just the simple thing of a guy that you know is good friends with your wife, and it says this is the file that relates to her, doesn't give you the right to go in there. You're working on this computer for whatever reason. You don't have a right to access things that are not that you have not been given permission to access.
Yeah. They're both women, by the way, the cousin and the wife.
Oh,
Um,
the cousin is a woman making porn.
of the wife, yes.
Oh, this is getting, uh, okay. It's whatever.
It's
Look,
an interesting situation. But so this person ultimately decided for God knows what reason to
but you know
tell
what
neither
though?
the
Does she know that? Does he know his cousin's gay?
he doesn't actually say.
Okay, well, let's assume he doesn't, just for the quick go. Then I would say it's even worse because if you know your wife is friends with your female cousin, there's no indication that she's gay. Then whatever they're talking about is not your business. You have no reason to enter into this thing at all. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like what the hell? They're friends. They're allowed to be friends. They're allowed to have memories that don't concern you. So
And apparently the wife and the cousin are like extremely close, like almost best friends. And he says,
maybe.
I'm sure there are criminal and legal ramifications as well, which I think is true. I think that there can be legal ramifications for making porn with other people's, with real people's faces. Um, Ultimately, this person decided to tell neither the wife nor the cousin. So I
So he
agree with
then, so in that situation, then he then allows his wife to be friends with somebody that's making porn of her.
a
See,
predator.
yeah, see, scumbag. They're all scumbags,
I agree with you. I agree with your assessment on that one.
except for possibly the wife. But I would say there's a good chance she's got some untoward qualities.
Okay, slightly less fucked up. No, actually, no, this is fairly fucked up. So this person asks, am I being unfair or unethical if, due to visa-related job insecurity in the US and limited opportunities back home, they are from India and they are in the United States, I hide info and don't share my tech knowledge as a way to protect my role and remain valuable to the team. Am I being unethical? They
What do
work
you
at
mean?
Amazon. They work at Amazon. They are from
Yeah.
India.
Okay.
So they are keeping tech knowledge from their team. So instead of sharing knowledge, which makes them not a team player, so they're hiding knowledge that they have so that they can
Are
protect
they
their role.
are they doing what they're paid for?
Yes.
Then there's nothing wrong with it.
Everybody lambasted this guy in the comments. Everybody said, "You're not a team player. You're gonna get fired because you're hiding knowledge."
I don't understand. If he's paid to do a job and he's doing the job, um, I don't know.
So what a lot of people do in technical roles, you have certain processes and certain, like, maybe there are things that you should have documentation on that you don't, so that when you leave that role, the person who replaces you can't actually do the things that you were doing because they don't have the documentation required.
Oh, okay. So the person's not documenting stuff that somebody else is going to need to know when they take over the job. Yeah, that's fucked up.
Okay, so
Uh,
that changed
Yeah,
your.
I thought he just was going into the job, and let's say he's supposed to fix computers, but he not only knows how to fix the computer, he knows how to turn it into a supercomputer, and he's just not doing that, and he's not telling anybody he knows how to do it. That's fine. But if he's doing a job and he's supposed to leave a track record of what he's doing, and he just doesn't, of course that's wrong.
Okay. Yeah, that is basically what he's doing, because
All
he's
right.
in a tech role. He should be creating documentation and sharing with the team, but he's not. Okay.
All right, we got time for one more question. We've already gone 12 minutes and 40 seconds over. We're going to go 15 minutes over because it's a special 50th episode.
Okay, so then I'm going to ask you a question. Do you want a sex
Yeah,
question, or no, listen, do you want a sex question or do you want a teaching question?
I'm intrigued. The sex question.
Okay, so here's the post. Suppose a man would really, really, really like to have sex, but does not feel the need to pursue a romantic or intimate relationship. The man
Yeah.
has concluded that the best possible way to achieve this goal is to sleep with a prostitute.
Okay.
This because most of the women he meets state that they want an intimate relationship and he doesn't want to use deception to have sex with these women. However, he is aware that the sex industry is rife with exploitation, and in pursuing this path, he might be supporting an industry that preys on vulnerable people. Is he ethical to hire a prostitute?
I would say no. And I don't accept the idea that there's no woman on the planet that he could find that would be interested in casual sex.
Yes, I don't agree with that either. I think he's not looking hard enough. But I mean, that's not really. It's good that he
Look,
doesn't. It's good that he doesn't want to lie
right,
to
but
the
look,
women.
come on. In this day and age, you go on the computer. I want to have sex. Who are the takers? Yeah, you know what I mean. I just don't see the necessity. Now, if prostitution were 100% legal, that alters it. Not because it's legal, but because of the fact that if legal, a lot of that exploitation stuff would be gone. You wouldn't have the same dynamics that you have now where you have pimps and that sort of thing, and you have to deal in shadows. It'd be a much different market. I don't know what it would be like, but it would be different.
Okay, that was a good one.
All right. Persephone, thank you so much. I hope everyone loves the headphones. I'll be wearing them for 2 weeks, and then they will be given to Danny's daughter because she wants them. Uh,
Deeper.
maybe I don't know. Thanks everybody. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the super stickers. Thank you all just for joining us every day. Really appreciate it. We don't appreciate the motorbike, but we will be back here tomorrow. What website? What, Subby?
Go to thecapitalistcorner.org if you would like to submit questions for everyday ethics. Also, find us on Patreon, link on the screen. Also, Everyday Ethics is available on Spotify.
Thank you, everybody. Until tomorrow, be ethical.